What happens if you have an EUDR-relevant derived product that was previously imported into the EU, subsequently exported, and then re-imported back into an EU member state? So this is actually a specific situation that was clarified by the updated EUDR guidance and FAQs. This is a scenario where technically this qualifies as a downstream operator situation for the re-importer, provided that they can prove that the derived product that they are re-importing was previously imported into the EU, either the commodities associated with that derived product or the product itself. The way in which the downstream operator in this situation would prove that their product that is now being re-imported was previously placed on the EU market, exported, and is now coming back into an EU member state is clearly articulated in the FAQs in a number of ways. First, the due diligence reference number is sort of the obvious example of how a downstream operator would prove that a product has already been placed on the EU market. However, a downstream operator that's re-importing may not actually have the reference number associated with that first import. If this is now several steps later where this product has been exported, now it's being re-imported again. Best case scenario, they have the due diligence reference number from the original commodities or products, but let's say that they don't. The guidance and FAQs clarify that they actually are allowed to use the conventional reference number that is provided by the EU Commission. This is essentially exactly how it sounds, a conventional reference number that can be used by downstream operators in the event that their upstream primary operator has not provided them with a due diligence reference number associated with their downstream goods. So in this scenario, this re-importer uses the conventional reference number. They then also need to have additional evidentiary documentation that they can provide upon request to customs authorities. So what does that look like? This is additional evidence that really supports that the commodities or goods were previously placed on the EU market. These can include shipping documents, bills of lading, they can include airway bills, invoices, really any sort of credible documentation, either between the original importer, the subsequent exporter, the re-importer, and other parties that prove that the goods were previously placed on the EU market. And these documents obviously need to be associated with the actual products that are being re-imported into the EU. So as you can imagine, these evidentiary documents sort of make up for the fact that many downstream operators in this situation may ultimately have to rely on the conventional due diligence reference number route, since many of them may not have the actual associated due diligence reference number with that's associated with the goods that were previously placed on the EU market. So having that evidence that is actually associated with their products and those documents that actually are associated with their products at customs makes up for that discrepancy. What is still unclear from the guidance and FAQs is whether customs authorities in each of the member states will specifically be looking for this documentation at customs, meaning will they be using these documents to clear customs? This is less likely. The way it's worded in the guidance and FAQs is re-importers should be able to demonstrate that they have these documents upon request. So what is more likely is customs authorities, competent authorities may ask for this documentation after the fact. However, re-importers should have this beforehand. They should be prepared. If they are asked for this documentation at customs, they should be prepared to demonstrate that they have it. They should have all of the documentation organized and ready to go. Each customs authority within each of the member states may not equally be looking at all of this documentation. That remains to be seen. But the more prepared that re-importers are with this documentation, the easier it will be when they are faced with this re-import scenario, which obviously applies to many companies and many downstream operators.